Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. Welcome to another session of SciFinder. I would like to invite Mr. Qari Abdulaziz for the recitation of Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah. I am Dr. Zahra Batul, working as an assistant professor at ICCBS. Here I would like to welcome you all in SciFinder training session. Today, the ICCBS and SciFinder has jointly collaborated the training session for the MPhil and PhD students in the center. The ICCBS library have 6 libraries which are providing academic support in different research and development program and projects. The library resources consist of books, subscribed international and national journal, thesis, dissertation, and faculty publications. Digital resources and database including scholarly literature, including ebooks, e-journal, e-thesis, patent, abstract, dictionary, and CAS Finder is also one of them. We subscribe the SciFinder to extend biological and chemical sciences academic programs, research, and development projects. Through this training session, these students will become familiar to access the SciFinder along with all its features, and they will be able to do their academic activities and R&D projects. Let me introduce our resource person. Respectable Mr. Andrew McKay is the Regional Market Manager for CAS Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific, as well as Pakistan and Bangladesh. He has specialized in the analytical chemistry, working in previous roles with application and sales support for several analytical instrumentation and manufacturers. He has been working at CAS for 8 years, and he has been graduated from University of Tasmania in Australia. Our another respectable guest, Ms. Joanne Chia, is the Regional Sales Director at Asia Pacific for CAS for the last 6 years. She is based in Singapore and has expertise with other scientific publications and database products, and manages a team of sales and support specialists across the region. She graduated from the Curtin University in Australia. This lecture will be carried out by Mr. Andrew. Mr. Andrew will provide training to CAS Finder license customers. He provides assistance to all users in getting familiar with SciFinder and shows more advancement and new functionality to the users. This 1-hour training session will cover the topic of CAS, SciFinder, and utilization. After the session, Mr. Andrew will address the queries. All students are warmly welcome to ask the questions. Please welcome Mr. Andrew.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and attending this training session today. So I am Andrew McKay. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I will be going through several different aspects of SciFinder. We'll be covering retrosynthesis, reaction searching, literature searching, using NMR spectra to find compounds and substances. We'll be covering quite a lot. I'm going to skip through the presentation because I would prefer to actually show you the product in usage, but at the end of today's session, I will go to the CAS website. I want to show you a few things about a very exciting program that we run for PhD and postdoc students called the Future Leaders Program. I'll also show where you can sign up to our weekly newsletter and where you can access some other online self-help resources for when you want to look at doing different things in SciFinder. But we would like today's session to be interactive. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to call out and we can go through those together. So I'm going to assume that everybody here on today's call and also on the Zoom call have access to SciFinder already. If you don't have access to SciFinder and you'd like to sign up and get your own individual account, please contact the wonderful library staff that you have here. We just came from the library. You have quite an excellent and well-resourced library and a very knowledgeable team. So please reach out to your library team if you don't have access to SciFinder and would like assistance in getting your own individual account. Every student, every faculty member can have their own individual account. So please reach out to your library team if you don't have an account. So I'll get started with some basic searching and then we'll go through some more elaborate and sophisticated examples. So what we have here is the homepage of SciFinder. What we can do is we can specify the type of search that we want to do. We can start with either substances, or we can move on to reactions if we just want to search for reactions. References, this is where you do your literature and journal searching, and then suppliers, if you need to actually source compounds and standards and substances worldwide. So I think most of you are used to doing keyword searching. Perhaps there are other resources that you use when you're trying to find patents and journals. You can certainly do keyword searching here in SciFinder as well, but I'd like to also just mention a few of the other filters that we have within SciFinder. So a lot of people might be just looking specifically for an author. So you can do an author search. If you know the publication name that you're looking for, so basically publication name and the volume and the edition numbers. If you want to just look for keywords just within the abstract, not necessarily within the title, you can filter for those. If you want to search via the concept within the journal, you can do that as well. So we also have the ability to search via patent identifiers, so IPC codes. So if you need to do patent searching in particular, you can do that, or you can search via the publisher. So we can do an author search if you want to do that. And what we get, I'm looking for an old professor of mine from the University of Tasmania, Paul Haddad. He was an expert in ion chromatography, one of the world leaders in ion chromatography. So I can search via Haddad, Paul, so surname or last name first, comma, and then first names. But you'll see that we've got Paul R with a dot, Paul R without a dot, Paul with no R. So how do I search for all of these? We do have what's called Boolean operators. So I'm not sure if everyone knows what a Boolean operator is, but a Boolean operator is things like and, or, not, and then a wildcard operator, which is the asterisk. So if you want to search for the plurals or something, you can just put an asterisk at the end of it, and that can help you do a broader search. So by putting an asterisk at the end of Paul, I'm also capturing Paul and Paul R with the middle name, and I can do a search by clicking on the little magnifying glass there at the end. Okay, so I'm getting all of the papers that contain Paul Haddad. It's all mentioned there. I am capturing, oh, thank you. I am capturing also Paula because I put the asterisk there. So maybe the search now is a little bit too broad, but we can go back and we can change that if we wanted to. We can go to the edit search function here. So I can just get rid of the asterisk because it was picking up Paula now. It was too broad, and I can just go and rerun that search. So you don't have to start a new search. You can just go back and edit, re-edit your search time and time again. And yes, Paul Haddad, Paul R. Haddad, that's much better. So again, we've got the filters on the left-hand side here. So if we just want to focus on those with Paul Haddad, where he published in a journal, we don't want dissertations or patents, we can just filter that way. If you want to focus on just those published in English or in a particular language, we can do that. If you're not interested in his older work, we can get rid of all of those and maybe focus on those in the last 10 years by just moving the little slider. Do it that way. And if there was a particular keywords that you wanted to actually put in there, so maybe you wanted to look where he mentions potassium hydroxide, for example. You can just do the search within results. So that's where you can add a second keyword, a third keyword, a fourth keyword, so on. And there we are. So basically he's talking about filling 40 millimolar of potassium hydroxide. So it's very, very quick and easy and very intuitive to search within SciFinder. So I know that most people will just use this main box here for the keywords, but I guess what I'm saying is don't forget this little drop-down box here that has all of these other potential filters that you can use. So this also extends over into substances. If you know the name of the compound, you can certainly search that way. If you want to draw the compound, and I'll go into drawing in just a moment, but we also have this drop-down box here where you can go in and you can put in a particular molecular formula, experimental spectra. So I know that you have perhaps the largest NMR facility in all of Pakistan. I think that's probably correct to say. You can actually search for compounds via the NMR spectra. So let's say that you've isolated a compound from maybe a natural product and you want to identify it, you want to see if it's new. You can take the NMR spectra. So we're going to take the proton NMR spectra here. And I'm just going to cut and paste some spectra that I have previously. And then we can add not only the proton NMR, we can also add the carbon NMR. So long as it is delineated by a space and a comma. Okay. And now I can search for substances based upon the NMR spectra. So I've added proton NMR and I've added carbon NMR, and now we can see what substances we have within the database. So within SciFinder, we have millions upon millions of substances that are identifiable via NMR spectra. So here we have a reference with our CAS registry number. So here it is here. Here is the substance, quite a complex, what's that, 10, I think, maybe? Yeah, yeah. So quite a complex structure. And we can see here its other names and identifiers. So it's common names and its nomenclature names, the experimental spectra, the predicted properties, and predicted spectra. And we can see that this compound has only been published or found in one document. So SciFinder has more than 63 million references from more than 100 years of science, taken from more than 50,000 different journals, plus patents from more than 63 patent authorities. And in all of those 63 million documents, we've only found this compound once. And here is the journal that we found it in. So it is a diterpene from a particular plant. So this was published in the Journal of Natural Products. Okay. So it's probably that one there, I think. But what we can do is we can go down to the substances page here and just check. And the one highlighted in blue there is the one that we were searching for by our NMR spectra. So you can start with the NMR spectra. It will go through our library. It will find what the compound is, and from there you can go to the journal article. So I'm not sure how often you've had to start with the spectra to actually discover a compound. I'm not sure if many of you had to do that. No? Okay. Well, if you do ever need to identify a compound by the NMR spectra, SciFinder has an enormous inbuilt library that allows you to do that. So there's multiple other things that we can do in SciFinder. So we can do compound searching via structures. So we have our own inbuilt structure editor within SciFinder. Is anyone using ChemDraw? ChemDraw, which version of ChemDraw? Do you know what version of volume it is? 19? Okay. Have you linked ChemDraw with SciFinder? Okay. I forget off the top of my head which version you need. It might be version 19 or version 21. I can't quite remember. But there is a way to link ChemDraw with SciFinder. So you can draw in ChemDraw and then it will shoot it over into SciFinder. So if you prefer to use the ChemDraw editor, there is a way to port over your substances into SciFinder. So it will do either a structure search or a reference search based upon what you've drawn in ChemDraw. But we have the inbuilt structure editor here. So you have the elements, and you'll notice that some of the boxes have a little triangle in the bottom right hand of the corner. That means that there is a pop-out box which is available. So deuterium and tritium here under hydrogen, and then we have the other halogens there under chloride. And then on the other side here, we have a few other options here. So if you hold the cursor over each button, it will tell you and inform you what each button does. You can also import, which is what I'm going to do. So we can import structures. If you have a .mol or .cxf file format, you can directly import into the structure editor. You can also put up into this box if you have a SMILES or INCHI string, or if you know the CAS registry number, you can put them into that box up there, and it will also bring up the structure. So we'll let that load. So let's imagine that we're trying to find this this compound in patents. So there's two things that we need to do. We need to do just a general literature search, and then we need to do what's called a Marcouche search. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to just do a general literature search, and then we'll do a separate Marcouche search. Okay. So the results that we get 6 results. So we get the exact structure as drawn with the stereochemistry, but it's also bringing up the structure with, I guess, deuterium at certain positions here. These are coming up as options. I'm not sure what happened there, maybe it's change absolute stereochemistry shown. So what we're looking for is the first one here as drawn. We can see that we have 719 references. We can just skip straight to the references. And we can see that this compound has been found in 68 different patents. So we can just filter directly for patents. Okay, so we've got 68 patents where this compound, terazastrol, has been mentioned or is part of the invention. So we want to filter down a little bit more. So let's say we want to know what the substance role is. So this filter here is where our team in Columbus, Ohio, when they're actually indexing all of this information, they'll read through the entire patent or the entire journal, and they will see what the role of the substance is within that document. So you can see here, for example, it's talking about 5 patents where this compound is a reactant. That is the role within the invention. It is being used as a reactant. In 7 of these documents, it's talking about the purification or the recovery process of this compound. So let's say you're mainly interested in this compound as a therapeutic use. You want to see where it has been used potentially in a pharmaceutical product or in a therapeutic agent. Okay. So now we've got 36 results. Let's see, most of these are from China, as we can see. So this is China 2024, China 2024, China 2023, China 2023 as well, China. So in fact, if we go and have a look at the language, you can see that the bulk majority of these are published outside of English-speaking countries. So we have 3 in Korean, 1 in German, 1 in Japanese, and 1 in Portuguese. So the bulk majority of the literature, patent literature on this compound being used as a therapeutic is not published in English at all. So we can, if we wanted to, go into one of these patents and take a closer look. Okay. So here is the patent. There is the WIPO number. It is via the Henan University of Chinese Medicine. And let's say we want to go and have a look at exactly where this compound is mentioned within the patent. Oops, sorry. I might have gone a bit too fast there. So when you're in the patent reference page, where I am now, if you want to just jump to directly where the compound is mentioned within the patent, if you go down to substances, the substances drop-down box here, and you open it up, what you'll get, if there was more than one compound mentioned within the patent, you get all of the compounds, but the compound that you're looking for will always be highlighted in blue like this. And then you'll see this little patent pack little button there. It doesn't look like much of a button, but it actually is. So if you press that button, it will open up the full text and it will actually jump to where it's mentioned. So it's mentioned on page 4, and that is where terazastrol is actually mentioned within the Chinese patent. So you'll notice that there isn't a structure, and obviously being a Chinese patent, it hasn't been mentioned in English, but that is terazastrol within the patent. So back in our head office, one of our Chinese language specialists has read this patent. They've gone through the entire patent. They've spotted, that's the compound name for terazastrol. They've marked it up with that little chevron there. So now you can find exactly where it is mentioned within the patent. So we don't offer English translations of the full patents. That's beyond the capabilities of all of the humans that we have at CAS. That would take us decades to translate all of the world's patents into English. So we simply can't do that. But what we can do is we can offer you where the compound is mentioned within the patent. So there are other tools that you can use to translate this, or maybe you have colleagues who speak Chinese who would be able to tell you what that means. But the advantage here is that we're skipping straight to page 4, and that is the first mention of the compound within the patent. So I might just pause there and see if there's any questions. I'm going to go on to reactions and retrosynthesis and biosequences in just a moment. Yes, ma'am? Yes. Yes and no. So anything that is relevant within the patents, usually within the claims or the description of the invention. But obviously, if someone has a reference within the patent where they mention methanol, right, we're not going to include that because that's almost irrelevant. So certainly, anything which is relevant to the claims would be mentioned. So in this particular example, in this particular patent, they're only mentioning one compound. So that seems to be their primary compound within the invention. There are patents that literally have hundreds upon hundreds of compounds mentioned. So we don't miss anything that's important, but we use our discretion not to include irrelevant things like water or methanol or basic solvents like that. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. So if I'm going a little bit too fast, just let me know. But what I will do now is I will go over to, I guess we can do some reaction searching. So you can obviously search for reactions, for synthesis protocols, a couple of different ways. So you can do a keyword search if you want to search how to look up a reaction. So you can type in the compound that's of interest, and then you would switch over to reactions at the top there, and that will take you straight to just looking at reactions. Okay, so I'm looking for all of the reactions for lupiol. So we see that there are 223 results, but there's only 62 where lupiol is the product of the reaction, and that's really what I'm looking for. So that is the first thing that we will filter for, where lupiol is the product of the reaction. Okay. Let's see, we want to have the maximum number of steps. So let's go 11 to 15 steps, because we want to start with the most basic starting materials if possible. No. Took a little while. Okay. And the two filters that you really want within SciFinder when you want to look at the full synthesis protocol, where it's telling you step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3, how to synthesize, are these two filters here, the experimental protocols and the synthetic methods. So just click both of those, and that will bring up any full step-by-step methodologies that we have for the synthesis of these compounds. Okay, so we have 8 results here. Okay, let's have a look. Yes, so we'll go into the experimental protocol. Sorry, I was probably a bit too fast there. So you've got all these different reaction schemes where you can actually see what is within the reaction. Okay, and the button that you're looking for is that experimental protocols button there. So this is giving you a brief rundown. If you have a look at all of the steps here, it's just giving you a very brief rundown of the reagents. So there's several steps, obviously, for this reaction, but that's obviously not the full synthesis protocol. What you want is this little button here, which is experimental protocols. So when you press that, it will bring up the full protocol that's been extracted from the literature. So if you don't have access to the journal, it doesn't matter. And if this was published in, let's say, a Japanese patent and it's all in Japanese, it doesn't matter. We've extracted it from the journal, all of it. And if it was in a language other than English, we've actually translated this into English. So we can see first transition, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th, 10th, 11th, and then we're ending up with lupiol right at the end here. So the first rectangle is obviously the first step of the reaction. So step number 1, we're getting this from the Journal of the American Chemical Society, 2009, from this particular journal. So if you have access to it, that's great. If you don't have access to it, and all you want to know is the reaction, it doesn't matter because we've taken it out. So step 1, here is the procedure. So dissolve, pour, extract, wash, dry, filter, concentrate, purify, and then we've provided characterization data. So if you wanted to put this into your NMR to confirm the structure of the intermediate, you can certainly do that. We've also got some notes down the bottom. Often we will include some safety notes if there's anything that you need to know about the synthesis. So you can then go on to step number 2, which is obviously now this part of the reaction. And again, it's all here. What products, reactants, reagents, catalysts, solvents you require. And then there is the full procedure for step number 2. So this goes on, step 3, step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way to the very end where you're getting lupiol with a yield of 90%. And there is the final procedure. So you can have the complete synthesis protocol from very, very basic starting materials all the way to the product that you're trying to synthesize. Again, this has been taken completely out from all of the literature. It's very neat, it's very tidy. We also give you the characterization data if you need to check things as you're going along. Before you take an intermediate and you start doing another synthesis on top of it. And we have, I don't know how many millions upon millions of these we have within SciFinder. So has anyone used this function within SciFinder? Yep, okay. Is it helpful? Okay, That's good to hear. Okay. But there's a few other ways in which we can do reactions. So we can also draw reactions within SciFinder, but we can also do a little bit more than just drawing the reaction. So when you have the reaction arrow, which is down the bottom here, you can put it on different sides. So you can obviously draw the reactants that you want or the products. If we put the arrow here, it automatically assigns the roles. So obviously on the left-hand side, it's going to be reactants. Obviously on the right-hand side of the arrow, it's going to be the products. There's a few other tools that we have in here. So we can do atom mapping. So we can actually say, well, this oxygen has to be this oxygen, and this carbon has to be this carbon over here. So if you want to do atom mapping, it's just a matter of using that little button down there. So basically you're saying this carbon over on within the reactant must be this carbon in the product. You also have the new functionality here, if you need to do Marku searching, is that you can assign an attachment. So if you put in R1, if you put in an R group, okay, you can assign what the R is. So let's say you want it to be any number of halides. So it'd be a chloride, or it could be a bromide, iodide, just as an example. Probably fluoride would be better. There it is, fluoride. So you can say, well, I don't have to draw out one with a specific halide. I want to put in multiple halides potentially at the position. You can do that as well. So we do have some resources that I'm going to show you later where you can find more tutorials and instructions on how to use the different aspects of the reaction editor. But what we'll do is we'll do a search this way for syntheses. Okay. Okay. And what you can see there highlighted in blue is that it's found, I guess, it's found none as drawn. So none as drawn. So it didn't find the exact match for as I drew it, but it did find 12 substructures where there has been a similar reactions. And it's obviously highlighted in blue there. So it's found those, although it's found both of them within the one structure, which is not really what we're looking for. So that is one way in which you can do a reaction search, but I just remembered I needed to show you one thing about Marcouche searching. So we can go back a step. So we were told by we met with some of your colleagues before, and they mentioned how important pattern searching is for you. So does everyone know what a Marcouche structure is? Okay, so let me draw this for you. So a Marcouche structure is only found in patterns, and it was named after a gentleman called King Marcus. So I'm just going to draw a very simple phenol ring, R1, R2. So Eugene Marcouche, back in the 1920s, late 1920s, he had an invention for a dye, so a dyeing cloth. But he knew that if you put in the exact structure of these patterns, all of these competitors would go, that's the compound, which is copulated. So what he presented to the patent office was, which is now named after him, was a structure that sort of demonstrates what the compound is, but it doesn't exactly say the compound. So R1 could be any halide, okay? So it could be fluoride or chloride, or it could be an aryl chain, or it could be a heterocycle, for example. And R2 could be an aryl chain between 3 and 12 carbons long, or it could be a cyclocarbon, again, between 6 and 9 carbons within the group. So when you start to add up, so any halide, let's say there's 75 halides, any aryl chain would be how long, how many heterocycles. So suddenly this one structure potentially represents hundreds, if not thousands, of potential compounds, right? The combinations of
any halide with any aryl chain, C3, C4, C5, C6, blah, 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 blah. So what he was doing was he was telling the patent office, and he was telling what his invention was, but it was hidden between all of this optionality. It was hidden in there. So yes, he's telling what it is, but he's masking it in a way that it's going to be very, very difficult for his competitor to copy what his die was. And he wasn't the first one to actually work back in the late 1800s, but he was the first one to, I guess, popularize it. And now it's called a Marcouche structure. So Marcouche structures are only found in patents. So
what you can do is we can do a Marcouche search. So this is my exact structure, but I want to see if there is any of these sort of Marcouche drawings in a patent which would cover my exact structure. So has someone put a patent out with that, not exactly that, but with a Marcouche structure, which would cover perhaps the compound that I'm hoping to put a patent out on? So what you need to do is when you're doing a substance search, and you're doing it via structure, you need to click this little box here that says Search Patent Marcouche. And we can see that there are 223 patents out there that cover the structure that I drew. So you can see G1, G2, G3, G1, I should say, in this particular one, G2, G1. So you can see that all of these structures here have some sort of optionality about them, but the basic structure that I put in is actually covered by patents. So we can see the overlap here. So for example, let's go into maybe, where's the Japanese one? Let's go into maybe the first one here. Or actually, let's filter for something first. So we've got 223, and let's filter for pharmaceuticals. So we want to see the patents that are pharmaceutical related. Oops, apply. Okay, and we can go into this one. Okay, so that is the Marcouche structure. So like I said, R1, R2, R3, R4. If we were to open up one that's in English, okay. Okay. It's going to be talking about, eventually we'll find it here. Yeah, so here's where they're talking about it. The flavonoid is a group of compounds that are flavonoids substituted with the alkoxy group at one or more of the positions. So basically it's telling you it could be at any one of those positions. We're not going to tell you which position, it could be any one of those positions. One of them is correct, but we're not going to tell you because we don't want you to copy it. So as you're reading through these patents, you'll see that they've got a lot of that sort of text around these different R groups here. So what I can do is go back to here. If we want to see exactly, again, where that substance is within the patent, we can perhaps go to Patent Pack, press the little Patent Pack thing, and again, we've got the purple chevron. So that is the actual substance there in Japanese. So again, there's no structure, there's no molecular formula, there's no other identifier that would normally tell you what it is. It's our team in Columbus who have read this in Japanese, and they've identified that that is the substance in Japanese text. There it is there. So that is how you would do a Marcouche search, and it's very, very important that you do a Marcouche search, because if you don't do a Marcouche search and you submit a patent to the USPTO or even to the Pakistan Patent Office, and they were to find a similar, a patent that has a Marcouche structure that covers your structure, then yeah, you can't have a patent. So most patent offices around the world actually use our platform for doing Marcouche searches. So your patent application will actually be examined against our content. Yeah. Sorry, sir? Yes. Yes. So this is where unfortunately you will have to read the patent to see what the invention is, because or to elucidate exactly what is covered by the Marcouche structure. So if I understand your question correctly, you're putting in a structure search and nothing comes up, no patents, no journals, nothing. So you're thinking, aha, this is novel, right? But then you do a Marcouche search and then suddenly there's 10 patents that come up or something. So the 10 patents may cover your structure, they may not cover your structure. It depends on the optionality within the Marcouche. And that is unfortunately where you'll have to go through the 10 patents and actually just see where these R groups, where the structure aligns with your substance, to see whether there's actually overlap, but also it comes down to the invention itself. So if in one of the patents they're talking about the compound being, for example, a therapeutic, but you're looking to use your compound as a pesticide, well, those are two different inventions, right? Completely different inventions, different claims. So you would be potentially able to go ahead, even though there is an existing patent. But I imagine that is something that you should talk with your ORIC. Is there an ORIC officer here today within the university? Do you have an ORIC? ORIC? Is the person here today? No. No? Okay, so. Okay. Okay, so they might be able to provide you with additional assistance if you run into that problem. Okay, so how are we going for time? Oh, I've been talking too much. Okay, so I want to cover a few more things before our time runs out. So one of the things that I would like to cover is retrosynthesis analysis. So let's just, let me put in a CAS registry number just to speed up time. Let's look for this substance. Okay, so here is a substance that is in our database. We have 11 references for it. Just taking a little moment. Sci-fi has gone slow on me, sorry. Okay, I'm not sure why that's taking a while to load, but what I'll do is I'll just, nope. So anyway, what I was trying to show with this particular substance, it's a substance that's extracted from, finally. It's a substance extracted from breadfruit in India and in Sri Lanka. So we can see that there's only 11 documents that we have found this compound in. In all of those 11, there is no experimentally reported reactions. So there is obviously no way, no one has tried to synthesize this compound before, or if they have, they haven't published it. So we do have what's called a retrosynthesis planner. So if you click on the, substance, you'll see that you've got this option here that says Start Retrosynthetic Analysis. So this is our our AI-powered retrosynthesis planner. So this is relying on reaction rules to predict possible pathways to synthesizing a compound where there is no experimental procedure. So you can increase the number of synthetic steps. So try and go for the maximum. You can go for common and rare reaction rules. You can have a starting material cost around $2,000 per mole. The price option here is obviously not based upon what you pay in Pakistan, but what it does do is it allows you to sort of filter for retrosyntheses that might be cheaper or more expensive. So you can then create what's called a retrosynthetic plan. So I do want to mention that this retrosynthetic plan may take 1 hour, it may take 2 hours, it may take 3 hours to generate. It won't be 2 minutes, because what it's doing is it's chewing through tens of millions of possible pathways in the background to produce all of the theoretically possible pathways to synthesizing the compound. So it is actually crunching an enormous amount of information. So you'll see here it says predicted steps, and you'll get the little icon. It's turning, it's turning, it's turning. Please don't sit there at your computer, because you'll be sitting there for 3 hours just watching that turn and turn. Luckily, I prepared one before. So let me go to my history. Let me go to retrosynthesis. And let me open up the plan. Okay. Oh, that's the one we're doing now. Sorry. Do that again. This one. So, as you can see, that is the compound that's the compound I would like to synthesize. And at each step here, it's giving me the reactions that we should be doing to synthesize all the way through to the compound that I would like to make. There are some additional filters over here. I guess what frightens me the most is that it says this is going to cost 623,000 US dollars per gram, per 100 grams. Oh, you can't see that on the screen there. Wait a minute. What's happened there? Oh, the projector's not showing the right, left-hand side. Sorry. That's been cut off. You can't see the filters. Anyway, when you use the retrosynthesis planner, you'll be able to see some additional filters on the left, which has been cut off. But basically, you've got these options here, where you see the little green connector, that will show you all of the alternatives. So at this particular step, we have 79 alternatives that we can choose for the A to B transition. And because it's retrosynthesis, we're working backwards, which is why we're starting with the product on the left-hand side, and we're ending up with the reactants on the right-hand side. That's better. Okay. Yeah. So that's the $623,000 that it says it's going to cost. So we can, for example, if we wanted to see this particular transition, we can see the evidence. And by evidence, we can see the actual experimental reactions that the prediction has been predicated upon. So we can see here out of, there's 500 reactions that the system has said that particular theoretical reaction should be possible because of these 500 actual experimental reactions that have been reported. So you can keep on going back at any stage and can say, okay, well, I'll select that one instead. And as you can see, it's updated the retrosynth and it's made it $1,621,000. So yeah, maybe these options aren't the best ones, but you can search through and keep on changing by just clicking and looking at the alternatives at every step. And that will allow you to look at every theoretically possible pathway for synthesizing that compound. As chemists, you're still going to have to go into the laboratory. You're still going to have to do the actual lab grunt work. You're still going to have to make the synthesis work. But what this does is it provides ideas of how you can synthesize this particular compound. Because we're running out of time, I might just skip through to show you where you can do sequence searching. So there is a little box down on the main page here. So you can go straight to the retrosynthesis planner as well with that little box. You can also do sequence searching down here. And this is where you can do either BLAST, CDR, or motif searching. So BLAST is possible for proteins or nucleotides. We have going on nearly 1 billion sequences within our database. So any of you who are needing to do sequence searching, this is where you would do it. You can cut and paste your sequence. So basically you can upload it as well, but you can also just cut and paste. There are some additional filters here. So I think you can run a maximum of 20,000 results. So if you're finding that you're getting too many results, you can simply use these filters. The little question bubble, it's very, very small, but if you hold the cursor over there, it will tell you what each of these filters are. And again, just to save time, what I will do is I will load a previous result. Okay, so here is one that I did previously. Okay, so we were doing a nucleotide search by BLAST-N, and we can see that is the subject, and here are the references where that sequence can be found. So it's in a patent by IntelliExo Biotherapeutics. So if you wanted to go to the references where the sequence is found, it's just a matter of pressing that references button there. So because I'm rushing at the end here, I do want to show you on the CAS website. So at cas.org, we have numerous resources. So we have resources such as our weekly newsletter, CAS Insights, that talks about many topical items related to chemistry and biochemistry and life sciences. We also have events and webinars that you can sign up for. We do operate some webinars and some events in, I guess, if I can call it the Asian time zone, so maybe more China, Japan time zone than maybe the Pakistan, India time zone. But we do have ones that are not at 3 a.m. For you. Not always, but we do have some. We do have events that where we advertise where you can potentially attend. We do have under this little icon over here, so these 3 little lines, we do have the training. Okay, so this is where you can go into SciFinder. Whoop. Okay, maybe they've moved it to another page. There we go. So it covers all of these different topics, you know, substance searching, reference searching, sequence searching, for example. Let's go to sequence searching. So it will load up either PDFs of particular, of how to do things, or we've got these little videos that will actually run through exact examples. So how to do a BLAST search, doing biology-focused reference searching in CAS, SciFinder, etc. So we do have all of these. I think you've had trainings with my colleague Heather Cole before. She's based in Melbourne with me, Melbourne, Australia. So she will be undoubtedly doing more trainings upon request for HEJ. The last thing that I did want to mention is this here, CAS Future Leaders. So we've already run this event for 2024. We'll be holding it again in 2025. But the CAS Future Leaders program is a program where we invite students from all around the world, PhD and postdoc students, where they are able to meet in Columbus, Ohio, and they meet other PhD and postdoc students from all around the world. So you get a paid trip, a return trip to the USA. You stay in the USA for, I think it's about 2 weeks. You go to the CAS campus, where you see where SciFinder is made. You are then paid to go to the, your attendance at the ACS conference, the national conference, which might be in a different city in the US, that's paid for you to attend. There is an option for you to present a poster at the ACS conference. And I think you get a bursary of $1,000 as well, if memory serves me correctly. So the big advantage of this is that you develop a global network of people that you can, foster further collaborative relationships with, whether it be for careers or just for friendship. So we've been running this for more than 10 years now. We're yet to have a winner from Pakistan. So what I would really, really like is in 2025 that we get a lot of applications from HEJ to attend this event, and that you're able to represent Pakistani science on a global scale in front of an international audience at the ACS. I'll be working with the library team to make sure that you are made aware of when it's running next year. It is a short window. It's only open for about a month. The requirement is that you have to, let me see. Does it give? Okay, so there's some frequently asked questions there, but usually it's an essay. You have to write a 2-page or 3-page essay. It's usually around how you use SciFinder or how SciFinder has benefited your research, something like that. It changes a little bit from year to year, but we'll make sure that you are all alerted when it's open for 2025. I really would encourage you to win, because we have winners from all around the world, from a lot of different countries. We're yet to have someone from Pakistan, so we would really, really like to see a Pakistan winner in 2025. So that takes me right up to the hour. I know that we have a bit of a hard stop at 12, but are there any other questions? Can you import CXF? You can. Yeah, it says here, so only CXF and .mol file formats. So CDF, I don't think we can do that. No. But is that from ChemDraw? Okay. Yeah, if you have version, I'll have to check which version with ChemDraw, but there should be a way for you to port directly over into SciFinder. Yeah, but unfortunately, no, you can't use that file format. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
Thank you so much for this. My question is, if we go on structure, right, and then see the result that it is not, right, rather than the compliance.
Yes.
Would that compound be reported as a old or a new compound?
Yeah, so that's actually a very, very good question, because I have a couple of companies in Australia that synthesize boron-containing compounds. But if you have a look in SciFinder, you won't find that compound mentioned in any literature. But I can assure you that that company definitely synthesizes that compound. They obviously synthesize it in the hope that someone will buy it from them to further their research. But from an IP perspective, that is a known compound. It's because the company says that they can make it. And for them to actually usually have it in our ChemCats catalog, they have to present to us evidence that they have made that compound. They can't just draw a compound and say, oh yeah, I made this compound, now go put it in SciFinder. They can't do that. So they do have to provide a basic amount of evidence to demonstrate to us that this compound exists before we will put it in our ChemCats catalog if it's not found anywhere in literature. So yes, it would not be considered novel, even if it's not found in literature. Yes. Sorry, you had a question? Mm-hmm. Which was that? I think I may have closed that window down. It was a pattern search. Let's see, previous. Which one is it? That one? Maybe it was this one. Yeah, I'll just go randomly into one of these patterns. So I think this was under a Marku search. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Rerun the search. Sorry, it's the CA section. So when our team, we have what's called a chemical abstracts section, CA section. So this is where our team sort of divided into about 80 categories to try and sort of to try and categorize every document. So I think the one here was pharmaceuticals. So this is our classification, CAS's classification, not the patent office's classification of the patents. So this is where we put it into a carbohydrates or an enzymes or an agrochemical bioregulator. This is where we put into one of our 80 odd classifications or sections. So that's just on the left-hand side there, right there, under the different patent offices. Is that what you're referring to? Okay, terrific. Any other questions? No? Okay, so first, once again, I'd like to extend a very big thank you to the library team and to the executive at HEJ for inviting us here today. So we hope that you found it informative, and by all means, we look forward to supporting all of your research going forward. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew, for giving us such a comprehensive and detailed overview of the utilization of SciFinder. I hope all of you have found this lecture very informative and you will use this